Going on, guys? Ben here from 5 Better Trades. Today in this video we have the ultimate silver trend line strategy. I'm going to be showing you rules. I'm going to be showing you exactly how to trade this thing. So let's go ahead, let's dive into the charts. Let's go ahead and get started and see how this trend line strategy will work. So today we are going to be covering how you can trade by following basically the trend line as it bounces off of it. So that's going to be the example, and I'm actually going to show you a real live chart with it as well, with several different buy examples. And so the foundation, the core principles of the momentum in the market structure. So this is the key. The uptrend support is a primary uptrend support strategy designed to capitalize on the natural ebbs and flow of the silver markets. The silver is going to go up, it's going to go down, and this is the basics for the uptrend support. It performs at its peak in strong trending environments where institutional buying creates predictable structure support. And then there's going to be a simplified framework around this. Trading doesn't have to be complex. You don't have to have 8,000 different indicators on the chart. Our edge here comes from the trifecta of a clean trend line and verified price bounce. With strict risk control, simple execution beats complex hesitation. So here's the very first step. So write this down. Step number one for this trend line strategy is you got to draw the correct trend lines. And so how do you do that? Well, there's going to be 2 points to draw from. Connecting the significant lows to the established initial trajectory, and then 3 touches is going to be a confirmation. You're going to have a confirmed trend line when you have that third touch. So the 2 points, you need the trend line, and then the third, that's going to be when you start to see it respecting it. And then you're going to extend it, project your roadmap, future opportunities. So step number 2, wait for a pullback in your trend line. And don't worry, I'll show you a real example of this if that wasn't clear enough. But the step number 1 is obviously draw the trend line. 2 intersecting points, lower lows, higher highs. You're going to need to be patient. The biggest killer of the account is chasing vertical moves. Amateurs buy the breakout, professionals buy the pullback. You don't just want to be buying at the very top. You want to pull back, wait for it to settle into that trend line, and then execute your position. And again, this is just a very specific uptrending. In this example, I'm going to be covering uptrend line strategy with bounces as it continues to go up with silver. And so step number 3 is the bounce triggers. So here's a couple things. Rejection wick, a long lower wick indicates that buyers are aggressively defending. So that's going to be a bullish signal, because if you see a big long wick, then that means that buyers are still stepping in and they are in charge. Bullish engulfing, a strong candle that swallows the previous red candle, signaling an immediate shift in momentum. So if the secondary candle is higher, stronger, that's another bullish sign where this is going to continue to bounce. And you have that trend line that is continuing to get respected. And then momentum pop, a decisive green close confirmed that line that has held the next leg up and has officially begun. So that's 3 different triggers, right? You got the rejection wick, you got the bullish engulfing, and then a momentum pop. And a decisive green close is essentially what I like, is a strong bullish candle where you're seeing it close at the top. And these usually are higher time frames. This isn't a minute, right? You don't want to just close at a minute time frame. But if it's a higher time frame, like the 4-hour, the hourly, daily, those are the ones you want to look at. And then the entry execution. There's an aggressive entry, entering the trade exactly when price touches the trend line. That's more aggressive because it could pull back and it could actually break the trend line. This captures the absolute bottom move, but carries a higher risk. So this is a little more aggressive. I like to do this if the trend is intact and it is just a strong trend, and you just want to keep getting in basically into those dips. I execute this not as more as I would do more of a conservative entry, and I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you both different types of entries. The indicator that I actually built with trend lines, it has the conservative entry. There is more conservative, but you can make it aggressive by just adjusting a couple of the settings. But I like to do more conservative, but sometimes if that trend, you just want to get in on that trend, you deploy those aggressive entries. Both work, both are great. Obviously, aggressive is going to have more risk. Conservative is going to be less risk, and you have a better position, a better chance of getting in a winning trade there. So entering only after the candle trigger closes above the line, that is a conservative entry. And I've been talking about conservative, and I actually haven't explained it here. But essentially, you need to see candles close above those recent candles. And step number 5, rule of invalidation. Protection of capital is really your only priority. I've learned this the hard way. We've all learned this the hard way. You got to protect that capital. You can't just have no stop loss at all. There is going to be levels where you're going to need to put your stop loss. We play stop loss strictly below the trend line or the recent wicks low. And if the price closes below the trend line, bullish narrative is destroyed. Exit immediately. Exit immediately. And the average RR here, we're going to target around a 2.5. Target 1 would be the previous swing high. Close 50. You could close. Say you're in 2 options, or say you're just in a bigger, larger size position. Close half your position, right there at the first previous swing high. Major resistance. That's going to be the second target, and there is, and if it's what it's doing right now is continuing to push higher. There isn't a lot of resistance because it just continues to make all-time highs. So it gets a little bit tricky, but there is some ways that you can manage it. And then let the final 10% ride if the trend is broken. So what's step number 7 here? It is trade invalidation. And what kills this setup? Well, technical analysis is about probabilities, and it's not certainties. It's all about raising the probability of your winning, of being able to win a trade. And so stay out of decisive close below the line, reclaiming failure, so there's going to be a fake out, and then forcing trades inside a choppy market. It's hard to do, it's hard to find. When it's chopping, it's hard to find those patterns. And so a summary of this: draw and identify 3 valid touch points to confirm the structure. Let silver market come to you. Do not chase. Protect the stop loss, go under the structure, and then take profit at the nearest resistance. Now, let me go ahead and show you a real live example here of silver in action. And so this is the silver chart. So you continue to see that this is bouncing, right? And so this was the trend line that so these were the 2 intersecting points. These were the 2 points, 1, 2. So let's just go ahead and just mark those. 1, there's the first one, and here's the second one. So that is our step 1. Step 1 is we drew this trend line right here. Now step number 2 is so basically, and let's actually go back in time. So and let me get the actual trend line. There we go. So there's our trend line here. So now this is where we were. So draw 1 here. Draw 1 here. Now we have a trend line to go off of as price continues to move. So there was the first resistance point. This was actually a nice breakout. Look for a bounce to the bounce off the trend line. There we go. There was a bounce right here. So a pull up, bounce off of the trend line. And let's actually highlight that. Here's the bounce right here. So in the more aggressive, so if we were more aggressive here, this would have been your entry right off the bounce. But my indicator, so this is actually, it's called trendline, and what I do is I wait a few candles. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4 candles after that bounce, and essentially what that does is it makes it so it confirms. Right? So it makes it so it confirms in that there was in fact a bounce. And if it stayed above this trend line right here, so you see this trend line, it stayed above it. So that's why we got a bounce buy position there. So this would have been your first entry. Now this is a very simple trade. So you could have even done something like this. So it's below the trend line, and then we could either deploy, so we could do 2.5 right? So that's 2.5 risk to reward. You can even go more. So that's the first one right there, right? And so here's our stop. We're still pretty positioned, and actually I would have probably put this stop loss right here below this structure. So you see that right there. And in fact, there is even our indicator kind of it recommends where the latest structure would be, whether it's support or resistance. It was all the way down here, which is that's pretty far away. Somewhere in this range would have been pretty strong stop loss area. So now here we go. So now we have another trade, right? So another trade, and I could have just added one there, but essentially this was your first one. Here's your second trade, right? And it continues to bounce up. And let me actually get rid of that because I just want to show you what it's doing here at these levels where it's bouncing. So this was a strong candle. This is a 4-hour candle. This is 4 hours of a lot of price action, and it pierced it, right? And so this is why we say don't get in as soon as it hits it, because it could definitely go below. But if it's closing above the trend line, see how these are all closing? See these wicks? So you see that. Let me actually zoom up a little bit. You see these wicks right here, right? This red one, this green one. That is buyers stepping in and saying we're not done yet. We're not done yet with this trend. We're going to continue to go up. So this was our first bounce. This would have been our first bounce position. This would have been the second one. And it just continues. And look at this. Now this is what's amazing about trend lines is that this was drawn several days, or actually this was the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So this was on the 4th. This is the 16th. And look how many days after it just continues to bounce off of it. And so here's our third buy. This is our third. This would have been our next entry right there as it continues. And you could either get in again, right? You can get in again at these positions, or you could just continue to move your target. There really isn't a bad thing there. Because it just does continue to bounce. Now I would, as it continues to do this, it's going to keep getting weaker. It could continue to get weaker, but man, silver was just on a roll. And so when you're in a position like this, you continue to see bounce. Where on earth is your target? Because there isn't. You see over here, there's nothing, right? We're at all-time highs. And so that is where you can deploy your so say you're getting in right here, right? So put your stop loss and just use that risk to reward. Right, so use your risk reward, and Tradingview does it here for you. You can either do 2, you can do 2.5, and just place, just have it right there, and just continue to just target those as it goes up. And I mean, this just continues to just blow my mind, and it just, what a rocket ship. And then once more, you see how this, what a crazy move down here it was, 16% in just a couple candles. And what happened? See the wicks? The wicks stepped in, the buyers stepped in, and they said, we're not done yet. We're not done yet, and it just does continue to climb higher right now. We are here at the tail end of 2025, so if you're watching this at a later date, silver could be, all the way down below this, or who knows, it could be up in the hundreds. I think that silver is getting, as we continue to trade this and to bounce, as this continues to bounce, right? It continues to bounce. It's gonna start to get weak. It's gonna weaken. Right, it is going to weaken, and once this trend line is broken, then we are going to see a pretty significant pullback somewhere in the structure that would make sense, and then it would probably, more likely or not, go sideways. Considering that this was such a big move here, it most likely we will see something where when it does pull back, it'll stay along the lines of like something like this, and it'll just go sideways before making its way either up or down. But that's usually just what happens when you just continue just to see something like this run. But really cool. Trend lines are awesome. Uptrends are awesome, and I think a strategy like this is just a no-brainer for something like silver, especially when you see it run. And other assets that it will work with gold, right? It'll work with gold. It'll work with crypto. You'll see a lot of even forex pairs likes to do this. Stocks like to do it too. I pretty much anything you're trading. A lot of times with stocks, you will start to see a lot of chop, and so it's hard for you to just continue to see this, just bounce like this, because a lot of times stocks will slow down and they'll break one of these and it'll just go sideways, and that'll kind of be the end game for that. But something like silver, metals, anything like that, whenever they run, man, I'm telling you, they get on a massive just a strong uptrend or downtrend, and you'll just see them just continue to bounce. So it'll work with bounce to the upside, and then obviously bouncing to the downside. But this video, this was just covering the bounce strategy. So if you guys like this video, if you're still here, give me a quick little thumbs up. I appreciate you guys taking your time to watch this. Trade those trend lines. If you are interested at all in this indicator that I built here that shows you these trend lines and shows you how to basically trade these bounce levels, go ahead and check that out in the description below.